First released during the time of Beast and 90 cap, players may remember when Dragoon's mixture of sustain and relative burst allowed it to be a consistent damage dealer during its initial release. Over time, Dragoon lost much of its appeal as it didn't quite keep up with the performance of other classes that leaned towards a specific niche or excelled at several. Even with a spectacular 3A and several buffs, Dragoon continues to be underappreciated, with an interesting 110 cap itemization and a kit that still flows together when played with care. There's little reason to not give Dragoon a try, if you enjoy its mobile and flashy playstyle. Let's explore, should you play a Dragoon? Dragoon is a high mobility magical DPS that rapidly links its skills together while also being able to reposition. Many of its animations are longer despite this, so it requires some amount of speed in order to take advantage of its relatively intuitive kit. This balanced playstyle means you won't be instant nuking everything to death, but you'll have a variety of options to face your enemies and remain quite consistent when you play well. Dragoon's core mechanic are servant lances. The Dragoon will rapidly generate up to 5 lances behind him that are automatically spent during most skills to fire a piercing lance out in the line to deal minor but consistent damage. Honestly, just think of this as a damage passive. Normally, you'd expect Dragoon playstyle to be about managing these lances, but you really don't need to worry, you'll always have lances. In my opinion, Dragoon's actual class mechanic would be the understanding of skills that you're able to set up or cast in advance to deal damage simultaneously. In addition to Servant Lance, these skills would be Servant Lance Assault, Servant Lance Engager, Dragon Grinder Spear, Insidious Pike, and in some builds, Head Penetration, as well as Locust Burning. We'll talk about the first two and then the rest later. Servant Lance Assault restores all your spears to max while firing out a singular spear that holds all enemies in the way. It can be casted in the middle of most skills, and even while midair, to hold enemies in an AoE around you. Servant Lance Engager fires your lances in a fan outwards before gathering all foes in range back towards you. It can be cast in the middle of most skills and has a decently large AoE. It's useful for general filler damage, and should always be casted with another skill at the same time. Try casting it with a skill that might push enemies away, just to force them to stay within range. It's very common to combine this with any of your skills, allowing you to bring enemies together so you can hit everything easier. Before we get into the primary talismans, let's just quickly go over two useful skills to play with, Locust Burning and Head Penetration. Locust Burning hits a wide area around you, gathering mobs in front of you. This skill is really useful because you can add an up input into the end to finish the skill off with an upwards jump, allowing you to combo into other skills such as Wing Skewer, Head Penetration, Earthworm Hunt, Servant Lance Assault, and most importantly, Partisan Skewer, if you have its talisman. Head Penetration used to be a good damage skill, but after its 3 or so indirect nerfs, it simply functions as a pseudo iframe and hold. Note that because it's not a true iframe, its defensive usage is to simply dodge attacks of a large but not unavoidable range. At the same time, however, your kit allows you to get some damage out of it, as you can cast a skill with Servant Lance Assault and Insidious Pike, if you haven't already linked it with Locust Burning. Starting with your most important talisman, we'll go over your level 60, Partisan Skewer. This long brandish seems clumsy and weak, but the talisman greatly speeds it up, and most importantly allows you to skip its entire brandish animation by casting it in the air for a single hit. This skill is your bread and butter damage skill with a wide range. You can cast this at any space in the air, so a clunky but short hop into the skill is perfectly viable and recommended. Scale Grinder is a channeling barrage that deals major damage in front of you. Note that without speed, this skill will seem very slow and dangerous to use. The talisman speeds the skill up as well as increasing its damage and reducing its cooldown, making it a very powerful skill to use. Note that you can cancel the skill to the final hit early by pressing C, and you won't lose any damage. This makes no sense, but you should try to cancel it anyways. Increasing your speed further through equipment turns this lengthy channel into an almost instantaneous attack. We covered Locust Burning prior to this section, so we'll go into the talisman. The talisman reduces its cooldown and allows you to fire a projectile that stays in the area in front of you. The damage is the same whether you fire the projectile or use an up input to go into the air. This talisman has excellent DPS while allowing you to change into other aerial skills, and it's a very competitive pick between all your other options. The Boning Slasher is a simple large frontal nuke, but it's further amplified by its talisman, which just makes it bigger and do more damage. If you like nuke, this skill has it, while still being decent in terms of DPS. We covered head penetration earlier, so we'll go on with its Talisman. The Talisman simply lets you cast this without having you be part of the jump. Unfortunately, this skill is still suffering from its indirect nerfs, and you'd only ever take this for extra quality of life, which isn't all that great for the extra DPS. Your balance kit as a Dragoon lets you go for sustain or burst heavy playstyles, and you shouldn't feel pressured to do either. In a Hunter Cap, you don't particularly excel at any one role however, and as such you might be overshadowed by more specialized classes. However, your mobile kit lets you play very safely while outputting consistent damage. Skills such as Buffalo Fall and Surround Break have a low cooldown while letting you move around quickly, but what you should keep in mind is that your regular jump has a massive amount of mobility and air time, letting you reposition very easily, and you still have head penetration if you need a quick escape. While I don't want to make too many predictions about 105 cap, it's worth noting that your decisive weapon buffs your main Talisman Partisan Skewer, while also touching Deboning Slasher and upping the DPS on your passive Servant Lances. Considering that Servant Lances scale off your basic training modifiers, there could be justification for a basic training build that utilizes your sub 35 skills, but we'll just have to wait and see. That's all I have to say for Dragoon. If you think you'd enjoy splashy playstyle, don't be afraid to give it a spin the next time you get a chance.